Hello. National Interfaith Week has been held in Britain every year in roughly the same week, and this year it runs from the 13th of November through to the 20th of November. And it's a good opportunity to mark various events to celebrate the religious diversity of the college community, as well as the wider community beyond in Bury St Edmunds and surrounding villages. The census details for Suffolk specifically going back to 2011, in as much as the more recent census data has yet to be released with the religious breakdown, shows that by far the largest group were Christians of various different denominations, with over 440,000 people noting themselves down on the census as some type of Christian. Going down to the next largest group, Muslims have just over 5,000, almost 6,000. Hindus just over 2,000, and Buddhists also just over 2,000. Some of these communities tend to have heavy focus geographically in certain parts of Suffolk rather than others. So whilst Christians are spread out very widely across the whole county, the Hindu community, for example, is quite heavily concentrated around Martlesham and Ipswich, with some Hindus certainly in other parts of Suffolk, but there is a particular concentration in that area due to the employment at British Telecom. With other groups, the numbers drop down quite significantly to 677 Jewish people, 626 Sikh people, almost 3,000 put themselves down as other, and that's quite a wide group, including, for example, pagans, spiritualists, and people who just put themselves down as loosely spiritual without any specific denominational alliance. Those who register themselves as either atheists, agnostics, or some other term indicating that they are not specifically religious, we have just over 2,115. Now, those of you good at maths will realise that the population of Suffolk is, of course, somewhat larger than these numbers added together, and that's largely because a lot of people simply do not tick the boxes on the census form asking people to state their religion, because at the moment that particular part of the census is a voluntary one rather than a mandatory one. There's all sorts of reasons for people choosing not to tick the box, including a degree of anxiety for a lot of people as to not wanting the government or other agencies to know what they believe for a whole variety of historical reasons. In terms of how religious diversity impacts the educational sector, we need to bear in mind that not only do the students themselves have a wide variety of different religious beliefs, but of course the teachers, the estate staff, the cleaners, and all of the other various staff that make up the college community will have a wide variety of religious beliefs. A lot of them may be atheists or agnostics, but you'll also have Christians and Muslims and Jews and Hindus and pagans and Sikhs and so forth. Whilst in a lot of the time those particular religious beliefs may not directly impact their work or their studies at the college, there will be other occasions when they do. For example, people requiring specific days off in order to celebrate particular festivals, or an impact on dietary requirements, an impact on dress codes, what people wear, also on personal moral views and outlooks. Certain subjects they may find clash with their moral views, and other subjects they may have quite decided opinions on, being born out of their religious views, as well as, of course, people whose decided opinions are born out of their political, scientific, or other types of viewpoint. Sometimes these points of view can occasionally cause clashes between people who are of diametrically opposing opinions, but they can also bring a great richness to the table, an insight into all manner of subjects and topics, and so being aware of them can make for a much more engaging class. There is the potential there, of course, for historical clashes going back to rivalries and battles between different religious movements, some of them going back hundreds, if not thousands of years, which can lead to a certain degree of antipathy between people. But also there are plenty of people, even where those clashes exist within their culture, who make considerable strides to overcome such historical antipathies and try to build bridges, which is half the point of interfaith work. So this all brings its own qualities and traits to bear on college life. and again, worth being aware of. Now, in terms of events of a religious or semi-religious nature worth being aware of within this academic year, Holocaust Memorial Day will be taking place on the 27th of January 2023. And for the last few years, West Suffolk College has indeed marked the event by participating in the civic activities across Suffolk, marking both the Holocaust itself during the Second World War, but the day also commemorates a wide number of other attempted genocides that have taken place in different parts of the world, targeting different ethnic and religious and other communities. This year, the celebratory event will be taking place in the STEM Centre from 11 a.m. till 12:30 on Friday, the 27th of January. And there'll be various contributions made by students, made by staff, made by members of the wider civic community, such as the town mayor and the deputy town mayor. And there'll be a focus on the experiences of the Slavic communities during the Holocaust of the Second World War, where quite large numbers of them were indeed persecuted, and attempts were made to exterminate phenomenally large numbers of people. We also have, for Interfaith Week itself, a lecture taking place on Monday the 14th of November, 2:30 p.m. in the STEM Centre, which will examine the story of St Edmund himself, both in terms of the pagan origins of the Woffinger dynasty, of which he was the last serving royal member, and that dynasty's eventual conversion to Christianity, and the life of Edmund himself, King Edmund, and how he became a saint and how sainthood is understood within Christianity. Both those events are free to attend, and we like to encourage students, staff, and members of the wider surrounding community to participate. We used to have a midwinter lecture as well, but unfortunately interest in that waned somewhat, so that's on temporary hiatus. There are other events taking place within specific religions. We're all obviously aware of Christmas. Most people these days are also aware of Diwali and Eid. Bodhi Day takes place within the Buddhist community. And these are events which, where they fall on a college day, you might choose as part of a class to make students aware that that day has a significance, whether it is to specific students within the class or just in the wider community at large, and perhaps make it a discussion point which could be related to the overarching theme of the course being taught in some ways. If you would like resources to help you do that, do get in touch and I can provide you with a wide variety of resources. You might also consider doing field trips as part of certain courses. You might want to take trips to the cathedral, to various other churches, to the mosques, synagogues and other community centres around Suffolk. Some of them are in Bury St Edmunds itself, and others can be located in other parts of Suffolk. The synagogues, that we don't have one in Suffolk itself, there is one in Colchester and one in Norwich, but there is the Jewish cemetery in Ipswich. It's quite small, but a potential place to take students for a visit if it's relevant to the nature of the course being taught. In the context of relating religious diversity to various courses, practically everything could be considered to have a religious angle to it. It's remarkably hard to understand history without understanding the vast religious movements that have driven many historical events. A large swathe of art, of music, of literature, of tourist trips, of catering requirements are impacted by the nature of various different religions around the world. And so there is the opportunity to integrate a religious awareness into all sorts of different subjects. That can be done by guest lectures, it can be done by field trips and visits, it can be done by utilising resources, some of which are pre-existing and some of which potentially can be created for you. I'd be happy to do that if you get in touch. We also have various other forms of resource within the college, such as the Diversity board game and the Stages of Life board game, which the first one helps teach about religious diversity, and the Stages of Life board game helps to give insights into things like birth, death, marriage, the various stages of life and what various different religions have to say about those stages of life. So we can provide those sorts of resources as well. If you would like to get in touch and ask us some guidance, resources, recommendations for guest speakers or places you could take students on field trips, then my email there, robin.hearn@wsc.ac.uk, is on the screen. Do drop me a line and I can make a wide variety of resources available to you and hopefully help enrich your classes. And maybe we'll see some of you and some of your students at the talk on St Edmund in National Interfaith Week, and possibly also at Holocaust Memorial Day in January of next year. Thank you.